How's it going, guys? It's Lord Danny, and today we're going to be doing something a bit weird, I guess. So I'm doing something that's been a trend for a while, and that is technically reacting to old videos. But because it is Mephiles month, this month that I've created for no reason but just to be a meme, I have decided to react to my old Mephiles videos. So, the OG fans might know that my most popular videos, especially out of my earliest ones, were all ones I did about Mephiles. So I think it was like my second or third ever video on this channel was a Mephiles one, and it became quite popular. And it still is one of my highest viewed videos. Now, my actual highest viewed video is one about Mephiles that I did a few months ago. So I'm going to be reacting to that one as well, because I need content on this channel, and I need to push the 10-minute mark. So, without further ado, let's take a look at my old Mephiles videos.
Mephiles time.
So as you can see, if I sort by most popular, my 3-year-old Mephiles videos are there, and my top viewed one is almost a year old now. I still don't know why that one got so many views. I think it was because Snapcube did their Sonic 06 dub, and then that got recommended. I don't know. I really don't know. So anyway, we're going to go watch. Let's start with the Sociopath one, since that is the least viewed. I think I made that one after the Could He Return, but we're going to start with that one. Sega never really does take their characters too seriously, and they don't really add detailed things about them. However, with Mephiles, they have gone extreme. Can I just stop? Because, I did these old videos unscripted. So these ones were, just improvised. I didn't script them at all. And one thing I said in a lot of my videos was, however, and I used to just say it all the time. So I'm gonna get really annoyed, because people did start pointing it out in one of my videos, like, however, it's like, yeah guys, I say it because I'm improving, I don't know what I'm saying. That's why I script my videos now, so I don't repeat the word however that many times. So that's why I'm getting annoyed already. Okay, let's continue. Extremely deep without actually telling us. I'm Lord Danny, and I'm going to tell you why Mephiles the Dark is a sociopath. Oh, that's my old intro. Oh, yeah. Back before my channel was saved by some great people I know, my avatar was Shard the Metal Sonic, and it was a picture I did. Like, it was a traced image. It was terrible. I was so proud of it, but it was traced. I can't. So now I've got my current avatar and my current layout for my channel, which looks so much better than whatever that was. Oh my. Like, look, what is that? Look, the ultimate Sonic fan. Oh man. Oh god, this is becoming too unbearable already. Let's continue. The third point here is shallow emotions, lack of real emotion in response to events, and limited capacity to feel love. Now in the games, Mephiles feels no love whatsoever. As for the lack of real emotion, it's very obvious that Mephiles doesn't have actual emotions. The only time Mephiles expresses true emotion in the game is towards the end, where he's able to reunite with Iblis once again. And in this scene, he's extremely overjoyed. Other than that, Mephiles has no real emotion whatsoever. Okay, so that is like my first criticism. So this video is literally just reading out the diagnosis of like how to spot a sociopath and then comparing it to Mephiles. And I still think a lot of the points stand up. There were people who commented on this video saying, oh, he's probably more of a psychopath. Possibly. I didn't really check. I was trying to be different, okay? And yeah, that one point there is annoying because I definitely think Mephiles has emotions as a character. Just he gets more happy by doing things like hurting people. But in this video, I'm trying to insist that he has no actual emotions. He's just pretending. But no, I think he does have emotions. So I'm just gonna debunk that now, I guess. However, Mephiles wants to become something much more than what he already is. Now, a narcissist loves themselves as they are, while Mephiles wants to become something completely different. He wants to become Solaris, which is nothing like him as a person, or being, or whatever you want to address Mephiles as. But overall, we can safely assume that Mephiles does show traits of being a narcissist. Don't think I really agree with those points I made back then. So, yeah, I can see he could be a narcissist in ways, but I genuinely think he's not, because talking about like how he sees himself as like superior, it's not really made clear in the game how he views himself. I think he definitely sees himself as an imperfect character. That's why he has to become Solaris. But yeah, I don't agree with that point. So I'm guessing I'm debunking my own theory. Next we have a grandiose self-image. He wants to become the sun god Solaris, hence having godlike delusions. He also sees himself above everyone around him. To him, he is superior and no one else is above him, other than Solaris of course, but in his mind Solaris is just him. So a grandiose self-image really does explain Mephiles' character. Okay, so with that one, yeah, I do agree that Mephiles does have a grandiose self-image. But my point I said there was that he sees himself as Solaris when he isn't. I think that's what I said. But no, I think he is Solaris. Him and Solaris are the same person. So I've changed my theory there, I guess. So yeah, that point itself does actually fit Mephiles / Solaris, because he literally becomes a god. But I'm just trying to debunk that little thing I said there where I said, oh, he sees himself as Solaris. But no, he is Solaris. Next on the list is high IQ. Often sociopaths will exhibit a high IQ, which they can use to manipulate and plan. Now, Sega have said themselves that Mephiles does have a high intelligence level. Where's your proof? I'm sorry, like, one thing I've definitely got better at now is having proof about things I say. Like, you know, like, I'll include quotes from people or articles where they said something, like Ian Flynn saying something about the time meter, for example. Here, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, oh, Sega have said that Mephiles does have a high IQ. Where have they said it, little Danny? Where have they said it? After all, Sonic 06 is basically just a game showing Mephiles manipulating a number of different characters, and in the end it shows that his plan does work out. Of course, Sonic does foil his plan because it is a Sonic game, we can't have the villain win, but it does show. If you've seen my latest video, Mephiles did win, so debunking that. Next we have secretive. There's not one point in the game where the characters turn around and go, hey, do you think that Mephiles is actually trying to fuse with Iblis to become Solaris? No one really suspects his actual motives. They do get suspicious of his actions, but they don't know what he's actually trying to do. So Mephiles is incredibly secretive, and he's actually really good at keeping secrets. No, I think it was very clear that people worked out that Mephiles was going to become Solaris. That's not really criticism to like the points I'm actually saying. It's just like the way I said it in this video is silly because I think the characters did know what he was up to. That doesn't change the fact that Mephiles was a secretive character, but I just think it's the way I said it was weird that I said no one really suspected him. They did. Shadow definitely did. Next on the list we have sexually deviant. The lack of remorse, guilt, or emotional attachments means that the sociopath is happy to have affairs and to engage in questionable sexual activity without questioning their desires. So we don't really know if Mephiles prefers any gender, or if he likes to have affairs, but we can only assume that he does because the way he manipulates different characters by telling them different stories could also affect his sexual life if Sonic was an 18+ game. Next up, we have sensitive to criticism. Can I just stop that and say that I was talking about Mephiles having a sex life? Okay, we can continue now. Regarding the idea that sociopaths aren't necessarily a problem to the law, it's probably safe to say that Mephiles himself isn't really a big problem. It's when he merges into Iblis to become Solaris, which leads to the problem. Because before that, he's just kind of wandering around, telling people what to do, but he's not causing any actual problems because no one really notices him. I'd say he was causing problems. I disagree with that. I think he was definitely causing problems. Like, he attacked Shadow twice. Well, the accident happened, and arguably the accident that happened 10 years prior was his fault. That, like, characters clearly showed fear of him. Like, Eggman knew who he was, and when he got released from the Scepter, he backed off. He was terrified. So I wouldn't say he went unnoticed and no one cared about him because he wasn't doing anything. I think he was still doing things and being threatening. Next we have compulsive lying. As part of their facade and as means to an end, sociopaths are compulsive liars and will rarely speak truthfully, making them hard to pin down. Now let's face it, every single line that Mephiles says in Sonic 06 is just a plain lie. Want proof?
Unless you complete your task, your future will remain the same. Forever. The answer is yes and no. It doesn't matter how many of them you defeat. Join me, Shadow. Let us teach this world a lesson and rewrite the future.
I don't even need to say any. Okay, I'll give 16-year-old Danny a bit of credit here because that is actually proof of I'm backing up my claim. It wasn't very good evidence. It was decent, I suppose. I'd still agree that Mephiles is a compulsive liar, but I think a lot of the time it's more just to psych out his opponents rather than just to lie. I don't know, it's hard to explain, like, when he's, like, saying to Shadow, it doesn't matter how many minions you defeat, it's just to make him lose confidence. It's not necessarily a direct lie to... I don't know, it's hard to explain, but yeah. So, well done, little Danny, for having evidence. Not well done because you could have picked some better quotes, I feel. Finally, we have the McDonald Triad. In childhood, sociopaths will likely have demonstrated the McDonald Triad, also known as the Triad of Sociopathy. These are traits that are often demonstrated in sociopaths from a young age. These include animal cruelty, such as pulling the wings off flies, etc., bedwetting, and pyromania, an obsession with fire setting. And animal cruelty, he's cruel to Silver. That is animal cruelty. In fact, he's just cruel to everyone, animal or not. So there you have it. I've added up all the qualities of a sociopath to the qualities of Mephiles' character, and he seems to fit the description of a sociopath perfectly. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below. Are there any other characters in the Sonic franchise with a particular disorder? Maybe I'll see you again in a new episode. Anyway, I'm Lord Danny, signing out. Okay, so, the video ended, and I don't know how long it was. How long was that? It was about 14 minutes, just over. To be fair, it's aged quite well. I'm not gonna lie, I think it aged pretty well. So I know I was criticising quite a few things, but a lot of them were really petty. It was more just about how I presented the video, rather than what I said, and like what I was trying to say. I think it still holds up. I still think I could back up the fact that Mephiles is a sociopath. You know, this video was actually, like, really fun at the time. I felt so original when I made this, but now I'm not the only Sonic Shuba who has made a video reading out the traits of a sociopath. Anyway, let's get on to the next video, which is going to be the Could Mephiles Return theory. One of the only theories I ever did. He successfully managed to kill Sonic before any other Sonic villain did. In fact, no other Sonic villain has managed to kill Sonic since. However, he only made one appearance, and that was in Sonic 06, a game hated by all. He was the character that really saved the game. But since Sonic 06 never happened, he has been erased from existence. I'm Lord Danny, and I'm here to answer the ultimate question. Could Mephiles return to the Sonic franchise? Silver the Hedgehog is a descendant from those who survived from Iblis' terror. We all know that Iblis wiped out a lot of the world's population and left a select number of people left on the planet to breed with each other. This would then lead to the birth of Silver the Hedgehog. However, those people wouldn't have necessarily had the same relationships with certain people if Iblis didn't exist. Okay, that's actually a point I've never thought about in any videos I've done recently. I'm actually gonna pat my 16-year-old self on the back there, as much as they kept saying, however, every 5 seconds. But overall, I think that's a decent example. Silver might not have been born if the past was rewritten, because if Iblis killed a bunch of people, then certain characters had to be together. So, like, say there was 10 people, you know, in the room, and then 5 were killed. The only people who could have relationships are these 5. But without Iblis, these 5 still exist, right? So, this person could go with this person, who in the Iblis timeline was dead. And then, if they went together, then Silver would never be born. I like that. I might have to mention that again at some point. I'm proud of that. I forgot I even mentioned that. As I've just mentioned, Mephiles does try and tempt Shadow onto his side. He doesn't do this with any other character. In fact, Mephiles' relationship with Shadow is very weird. It's kind of like a love-hate relationship. He despises Shadow for what he did to him in the past. He wants to kill Shadow. He has a major grudge against Shadow, yet he wants Shadow to join his side. It's possibly because he thinks Shadow is powerful, maybe because he was resurrected through his shade, who knows? But it's worth pointing out that Mephiles has some strange obsession with Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay, that is definitely something I have debunked. Now, not again, I need to stop saying the word debunked, but that is definitely something that I've changed my thoughts on now, because I have already discussed the relationship between Shadow and Mephiles in one of my latest videos, I believe, in one of my Mephiles month ones. And I think the idea is that it's because he hates Shadow and just wants to kill him. That's all I've said. Like, that's how I've narrowed it down now. He just wants to kill Shadow, and the reason he's trying to tempt him is to just break him down and then kill him or whatever. But in this video, I'm saying, oh, it's kind of weird how he likes Shadow, but he hates him. No, he doesn't like him at all. I think he just completely hates him. So that's just what I want to point out there. It's quite possible that Mephiles is stronger than Shadow, and stronger than Sonic as well, because he does kill Sonic. So Mephiles is technically unbeatable unless he's erased from existence. I'm just gonna say, I have used that exact same point in one of my recent videos. I think it was the one we'll be watching next, but I have brought it up during one of my Mephiles month ones. I'm pretty sure. I don't know which one because there's so many, but I have. So I thought that'd be quite cute to point out that actually past Lord Danny is still on the same page in some areas when it comes to the character. A character with the power to travel through time at will is gonna have quite a few problems. So maybe he could go back in time, but instead of just going back in time in reality, he could go back in time in people's memories. Now, which character does that sound like? You guys guessed it. I'm comparing Mephiles the Dark to Black Doom. I completely forgot I actually did that. Like, I know things I mentioned in this video that relate to the Black Arms, but I completely forgot that I compared him to Black Doom. And that is so wholesome, knowing one of my recent videos where I literally do a comparison of Black Doom to Mephiles as the sole focus of the video. So go and check that one out if you haven't done so already. Now that we've got a couple of ideas, let's merge them into one big backstory. When Shadow was captured and sealed away, the gun commander at the time would have ordered for his researchers to create a clone. Creating an exact clone of Shadow back then would have been extremely difficult, and there would have been a lot of failures. To be precise, it would take 20 years until Gun reached a successful result. This creature would be known as Project Gulf, G-U-F, which stands for Gun's Ultimate Life Form. But how was the first successful clone made? Well, some researchers came across a strange gloopy substance believed to have come from the Black Comet. The name of this substance is Mephiles. Mephiles being a word that comes from the Black Arms' language. This would have been a substance used to forge the Black Arms' weapons. So Gun's researchers used this substance to give their projects life. Gun would then codenamed their project after the substance it was made from, the codename being Mephiles. But since the researchers knew little to nothing about this substance, they had no idea what to expect from Mephiles.
At first, Mephiles would have been seen as a failure completely because he couldn't demonstrate anything. He couldn't do a homing attack like Shadow, and he certainly couldn't run as fast as Shadow. Plus, he has a lack of support to his head, so he seems pretty weak. That's until they actually see Mephiles in a fight. When some gun soldiers are sent to battle some terrorists, they bring Mephiles with them to see if he can demonstrate anything there. And when Mephiles is there, he demonstrates his dark capabilities, his power to fire laser beams and darkness from his hands. The abilities that Mephiles demonstrates will be a surprise to both Gun and Mephiles himself. At first, Mephiles probably wouldn't think anything that much of his powers, and neither would Gun because he hasn't demonstrated that much yet. But Mephiles becomes concerned himself when he hears voices in his head. He can hear the voices of the Black Arms and Black Doom. Black Doom would talk directly to him, telling him that the humans were pathetic, but since Mephiles is on the human side at this point, he would disagree with that. But as time goes on, Mephiles demonstrates more and more abilities. He is stronger than Shadow by far, which makes Gun concerned. Mephiles would continue to fight beside Gun, but would soon be tempted onto Black Doom's side. Black Doom would tell him that he was just a copy of Shadow. Learning that he was a clone of someone that Gun captured, Mephiles began to feel rage. He found out what happened to Shadow in the past, and realized that humans were just evil creatures who needed to be destroyed. Mephiles would then become corrupted by his power and turn against Gun. He would have been unbeatable if it wasn't for one thing. The Gun researchers had worked on a Scepter of Darkness, a backup plan if Mephiles ever did turn as they suspected it for a long time. They are then able to use the Scepter of Darkness to seal Mephiles away, and Mephiles is sealed away right now, waiting to be released.
So then, I'm sorry, can I just say, animation was absolutely on point. I was animating with, I think it was paint.net. I used to animate with MS Paint, so that's even worse. But that was made with paint.net, I believe. So I'm kind of proud. I don't think I could actually do that now. And I think overall that theory slash new story was a good idea. I'm not gonna lie about that. Let's just finish this video up. There you have it. That's my idea for a new backstory for Mephiles the Dark. Of course, there are many other backstories you could go for. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Lord Danny, signing out. That's a really cute ending to a video. Bit weird, but okay. So anyway, overall thoughts. Well, like I said, I really liked the theory I came up with. I think I wrote like a fan fiction based on it that I gave up on immediately because it was terrible. And then that was actually based on a fanfic I wrote when I was like 13. Oh, that is so weird. I think one of my OCs has that backstory now though, so Sega, you're not allowed it. You're not allowed that backstory. But then again, if you saw one of my latest videos, you'd see that I was talking about Eclipse, and how Eclipse was like a new Shadow Ultimate Life Form. But the way he was with the Black Arms fits a scrap story by Ian Flynn where he wanted to have Mephiles and Black Doom work together in that exact same story arc. So I'm just saying, it's basically like, was that going to be the plan? Were they actually going to have Mephiles be related to the Black Arms, like my video here suggested? That would have been so cool, but sadly the comics didn't have that, and now I'm disappointed. They could have just asked me for permission and I would have given it. Anyway, let's go to the last video, which isn't really an old video, but because it's my most viewed one, I have to give it some attention because I've actually completely forgotten what it's about. Mephiles the Dark hasn't been in any main Sonic games since Sonic 06. At least my mic quality has improved, even though it's the exact same microphone. I had the volume turned up, just saying from a video making standpoint, I think you can see the difference between this one and the others. And the biggest thing to notice is that my voice sounds deeper, so you can tell I'm older and trying harder to maintain a lie, which I've recently unveiled, which was that I was a dude, which clearly I am not. But, yeah, so I'm just gonna give that a bit of a point out, because I want to point out that I improved, kind of, within the last 3 years. Not really. I still have the same software that I've been recording with from the beginning, but you know, who cares? Let's get on with this. But he has literally been non-existent since the game he was introduced in. Also, this one was scripted, so you can tell, like, I'm a bit more fluid with my words, instead of going, however, regarding...
if one of them turns to be infinite.
What happened to Kent, man? Like, what actually happened to him? I've not seen him since he made this theory back in 2017, I think it was. Where is the dude? I miss him. The first notable case would be with Sonic Generations. a game which explored Sonic's past and is considered to be one of the greatest Sonic games. The main antagonist... Can I just say, I have been getting comments, like, someone commented on one of my videos recently. I'm just going to say this now because I feel like it's relevant. Someone actually commented on my first ever video I posted on this channel, basically bashing my content, saying, oh, it's bad. It's like, well, this is my first video, so that's not going to give you the best impression. But they were saying, like, you know, how could you say Sonic Generations is a good game? Like, I just found it surprising because Sonic Generations was classed as a really good Sonic game. It was hyped, and it lived up to the hype. It wasn't like Forces where it came out and people were disappointed. Everyone was, like, in love with it for ages. It is classed as one of the best Sonic games. So I'm just putting that out now because I still like it. I actually do really like Sonic Generations. It's probably one of my favorite. No, it is. It's in my top 10 for sure. I did a video on it, being in my top 10. And people are actually saying that it's terrible and plotless and this, that, and the other. And it's like, Sonic Mania has a shallow plot too. That's classed as a good Sonic game. Why can't Sonic Generations be classed as a good Sonic game? Because it's 3D? Who cares? God, some people, I'm sorry I had to point that out, but, oh. I'll do a comment reading video one day, where I read comments on my videos, because some of them are quite funny. While his story was slightly flawed, he was written in a way which made him stand out. We got to know Mephiles through 2 stories. I got a comment recently again, this is what, I'm getting loads of comments now, and some of them are particularly... They are not to be rude, but they do make me lose brain cells. And as I said there, you know, Mephiles is a well-developed character, he's well-written. He has flaws, and most of those flaws lie within the plot of Sonic 06 itself. So the one thing most people confront me about with his character is, well, why didn't he just fuse with Iblis in the future? Well, the overall idea is that he's too evolved. Iblis evolved to become a monster in the future. He can't fuse with it. He has to fuse when it's in a more, like, fetus state. Hence why he goes to the past to do it with Elise. That sounded weird. And then other people said, well, why didn't he just kill Sonic himself? Why did he get Silver? Well, he wasn't depending on Silver, he was just doing it for fun. He went to the future, saw Silver being depressed, and decided to just have a bit of fun. Like I said in one of my recent videos, he has potentially got no time. So, because he's a time traveller, he can go whenever he wants to certain time periods. He doesn't run out of time, because he could just travel back. So, I don't really see him not fusing with Iblis as a story plot hole. But I do see it as something that Sega should have explained better, because they've left the fans to once again defend the game. The reason Mephiles isn't as flawed as we think is because there are things in the game that are just not explained well enough. Like his reasons for not fusing with Iblis or his time travel and stuff like that. Another comment I got was something that said like Mephiles wasn't as effective as Infinite. Because someone was basically saying that I was insulting Sonic Forces in one of my latest videos. And I said, well no, I like Sonic Forces. And they were saying, oh well, how can you like it if you're accusing it of bad things? It's like, because the game itself is objectively pretty bad. I just like it for like the potential it could have had. I like the things it tried, but overall Sonic Forces isn't a perfect game. And they were basically saying that I shouldn't be insulting it and whatever, and they said like, oh, Mephiles didn't affect the plot of his game. And they said Infinite had more of an impact on the plot of his game than Mephiles in Sonic 06. Infinite could have affected the plot more. He could have had more focus. But he was actually on the side. Mephiles had a really nice pace to his story. So we're sort of introduced to him in Sonic's story. Then in Silver's, we got to see him a little bit more, like what he was up to. And then in Shadows, we see him unleash his true motives. And then in the last story, he does the thing that was hinted at from the very beginning of the game, which was, you know, Solaris and all that stuff. The whole thing about Solaris was throughout Sonic 06, but this person who commented was insisting that Mephiles was a side character and had no impact on Sonic 06 whatsoever because he was only in Shadows and Silver's story. I'm sorry. Brain cells. No longer. Brain cell destroyed. But we are made to react to him in different ways. See, that's another point I like in this video that I make. This one's obviously aged better because it's a bit more recent. But the fact that we see two sides of Mephiles, like the one that looks helpful but is, you know, up to no good. But we can't, as a player, decide that it's Silver, who's our character, that we have to watch obey him, in theory. So we've got one character who is complying with the villain, and then we've got Shadow's story, another character who is disobeying the villain. And we see that same villain react in different ways. I like that point because I think a lot of the time, like with Infinite, we don't have characters, different character reactions. They're all sort of similar. The only thing that's really noticeable is that the Avatar is afraid of him and Sonic isn't, but Infinite doesn't really change much depending on that. The only thing I like though was how he reacted to Shadow, and I would have liked to have seen Shadow actually confront Infinite in the actual main story to see if there was a different reaction there. So yeah, I do like that point I'm making about how Mephiles was introduced in different ways so we could see different sides of him, because that helps to flesh out the character rather than have him be a bad guy who just likes to hurt people. We see like why he hurts people, which characters he hurts, and the ones he hurts are the ones who either get in his way or they have wronged him and disobeyed him. He manipulated events to go his way. Iblis didn't do that. Eggman didn't really do that. Silver didn't do anything effective without it being the influence of Mephiles. And when everything was slowly being revealed to the player regarding the Solaris project, Mephiles came out and finally fused with Iblis to become the time-eating god. So again, to reinforce my previous point, which was about that guy commenting on my recent video saying that I am too appreciative of Mephiles' character, saying that he's a main villain when he's actually a side character. Again, these points I'm making in this video are still exactly the same about how I feel now with the character. And that is that he affected the plot massively. He was the only villain to do things in this game. Silver was introduced as a villain. Like, he was introduced as a villain to Sonic, and essentially to the plot. We didn't know what he was up to. But his influence came directly from being manipulated by Mephiles. And we found that out, because Silver then became a good guy, obviously. Eggman was after Mephiles, and then when Mephiles came out, he just completely backed out. He did not want anything to do with that. And then, of course, the whole foreshadowing of Solaris and Iblis being the other half and all this, that, and the other. Mephiles is a main villain. I'm sorry, my brain cells are destroyed again. He's not a side character, he's clearly a villain. He's clearly the main villain, he's clearly affecting the plot. The whole plot revolves around his actions and what he's doing to the characters. Like all the pieces he's playing. He doesn't appear in Sonic's story because he's busy standing back doing other things. A good villain doesn't mean they just appear and take a lot of screen time. You know, Infinite's not a better villain simply because he talks to Sonic more. It's about what they do and how they are executed, and I think Mephiles did things, like I've said before. Infinite didn't do things, he bluffed a lot of the time, for no reason, just because the plot demanded it. And then, the actual execution of their characters, their interactions, their backstories, Mephiles was so much more fleshed out. So, just saying to that guy who commented, Mephiles is a good villain. I bet you didn't play Sonic 06, I bet you just watched the Game Grumps play it. Eggman took the Phantom Ruby from Infinite and used it for himself in the final battle. Infinite was just a boss battle who popped up. Okay, I don't want to say now, in a lot of these old videos, in fact, even up to like my recent ones with Infinite, except like the last few that I've done where I've mentioned him, I always say that the Phantom Ruby was taken from him. It wasn't, he didn't actually have it, he had a prototype. I didn't realise that because the writing in Sonic Forces isn't the best, and I just didn't really feel like they communicated that well enough, because I think it's because we were so used to thinking that Infinite had the actual Phantom Ruby that when we were told that Eggman had it all along and that Infinite was fake, we just kind of let it go over our heads. I think that's what a lot of people did, because a lot of people do believe Infinite had the real Phantom Ruby, but actually it was a decoy. So I just wanted to correct that there. That's, yeah, Infinite didn't have the Phantom Ruby, even though I said that he did. But my point with Eggman still stands. He still affected the plot. If he was the one with the Phantom Ruby all along, then was he the one doing all the illusions? Was he the one who was actually in control of everything? Was Infinite an illusion? Like, were Infinite's memories of fighting Shadow false? Is that why Shadow didn't remember who they were, like the Jackal Squad? We don't know, so technically the whole of Sonic Forces is Eggman doing things. Sonic 06, Mephiles doing things. Just saying. But yeah, the Phantom Ruby thing needs to be pointed out. Mephiles was also relatively unpredictable. He was on his own side. He could go after anyone. Infinite, on the other hand, was loyal to Eggman and simply obeyed his commands. He hated everybody just because of some past fight with Shadow, and even when he acted more unhinged in episode Shadow, we knew he was just going to try getting revenge on Shadow with his new powers before going after Sonic. We knew he would fight Sonic because he fought him in the intro. All he did was talk about what he didn't like and how much he liked crushing the weak, even though most of the time he was just sparing us out of pity. Infinite was too loyal to be considered an unpredictable threat, and Sega depended on his dialogue to communicate his personality rather than his actions. Okay, so I still agree that Mephiles is the more unpredictable threat compared to Infinite, because obviously Infinite is loyal to Eggman, he can't disobey him or anything, you know? But the one thing I will just say is that just because he's loyal to Eggman, it doesn't mean he can't be a good villain. So he could have been a loyal servant who became a powerful villain. Like maybe Eggman got defeated in battle, and then he took on the role for the rest of the game, for example, and he was the main villain, you know, fighting to avenge his boss. You know, he can still be loyal and be considered a threat. That's not what I was trying to say in this video. What I was trying to say is that he was really predictable, and if you're going to give one villain points, you'd give the points to Mephiles, because he was unpredictable. We didn't know what he was up to. We didn't know his plans, because he was on his own side. And he never really expressed his plans as much as characters like Eggman or Infinite would do. He moved in this slow and creepy manner, with his head bowed down. His eyes were like those of a reptile's, which glowed in his crystalline form. I sound like I'm trying to read a fanfiction, like his eyes glowed in like a reptile in his crystalline form. He had a slow way of walking. He had a drooped head. He had spiky crystals all over his squishy crystal body. It just sounds like I'm trying to read a fanfiction, and it's probably because I wrote the script, so when I'm writing, I write like I'm writing fiction, basically, because I'm a fiction writer. It rubs off in my script writing for videos, I'm sorry. Not to mention that the stitches on his flesh-like eyes were just really uncomfortable to look at. Just after I made this video, I realised that Mephiles' eyes were crystalline. Like, for years, I always thought they were, like, really fleshy. But then, just as I recorded this, I looked back at the footage and I was like, actually, they look like crystals. Which would mean that those things at the side, even though they do look like stitches, it doesn't make them as creepy. So I just thought I'd point that out. So his eyes aren't actually fleshy, which I wish they were, that would have been super creepy. But the colour of them still gives me, like, fleshy vibes. And those stitches, they look like blood is seeping out of them. It's so weird. But then, now that I know it's crystals, it's not as creepy. So that's, like, the only outdated thing in this video, aside from the Phantom Ruby thing I said. And the music should really speak for itself. Not just the music for the cutscenes, but the battle music as well. Come on, you gotta admit the intro to this boss theme is pretty cool. Like, for a Sonic boss fight. It just sounds like it's in the wrong game. Come on. You gotta like that music. You just can't not like that music. Yeah, also, like, the music does time to, like, when the boss begins, because the start of the boss is just Mephiles floating there and you can't hit him. You're just watching his shadows come in. And then, when the actual bass kicks in, I suppose, of the soundtrack, that's when the big monster emerges. And then for the rest of the soundtrack, that intro piece doesn't play. So, I don't know, I thought it was really cool how they timed that in the game. I don't think they really did anything like that since, which is quite sad. Infinite, on the other hand, has a soundtrack which expresses his anger and desire to crush the weak. It sounds like it belongs to someone who wants to start a fight. I wasn't trying to say there that Infinite's theme was bad or worse than Mephiles'. That's not what I said. I think people in the comments thought I was saying that. I like both their themes. I think they are different, like, I respect them on different levels. The only thing I was saying, and the reason I brought it up at this point in the video, was because I was talking about Mephiles' scare factor, and how he creeped the player out. Because Infinite doesn't do that. He's not a scary character. He could be. He's got a design that could be quite creepy, maybe under his mask. There's some creepy face, who knows. But that's why I was mentioning it. I was just mentioning that Mephiles' theme is creepy. Like, if you were in the dark and that bell chimed, you'd feel slightly more unsettled compared to if you just heard Infinite's theme start playing. Personally, I think his appearance in 06 is iconic, and it will be more effective if he doesn't return, since that would mean that Sonic 06 is his game, and no one else's, and people will only get to see him by playing him in the game he was designed for. I know that I got the comments after saying that, like, people were leaving really snarky comments, like, quoting what I said there and saying things like, no, I don't want to play, lol, XD smiley face, And they were saying stuff like that, and it's like, you don't look any more mature or funny by saying that. I'm assuming they were children, so I'm giving them a pass, because kids are stupid, let's face it. I know one, it lives with me. It's called The Prince. And yeah, like, kids, they leave stupid comments, but, like, I have seen people who are, like, 20 plus, like, older than me, leaving comments about things like, oh, how dare you have this opinion, I want you dead. I will do a whole video dedicated to those kind of comments, because they are hilarious. But yeah, just these people who are commenting, like, how dare you even suggest that we play Sonic 06. It's like, you can't despise a game if you've not played it. Like, I bought Sonic 06 and played it when I was about 12, and I loved it, so that's why I still love it. It's quite sentimental to me. And this was one of the first impressions I had for modern Sonic games. And people accuse me of, like, you know, liking it when it's a bad game compared to, I don't know, other games that are better. But yeah, I played this one when I was 12, and I had lots of fun with it. And the reason I had a lot of fun with it is because I was 12 and I couldn't understand a lot of the big words people were using on the internet. All I saw was that this game was being mentioned a lot. I didn't understand why, I didn't understand the sarcastic comments, and I thought people were genuinely in love with this game. I thought they were saying it was one of the best games ever, especially because I saw people were praising the cutscenes. So I just assumed it was one of the best ever Sonic games, and I bought it, and I played it all the way through. It took me a week to beat it. I had no issues. There were points in the game where it may have glitched a little bit, but I didn't think anything of it. So I thought, it's a 2006 video game, it's going to have a few bugs. The lag was something I thought was actually implemented into the game, you know? I worked around it. I thought it's the bullets slowing down to give, like, Silver time to react to grab them. That's what I thought it was. And then when I found out everyone hated it, I was a bit confused, and I played it again, and then I noticed the glitches because people had pointed them all out. So, people saying they aren't going to try the game, it's a bit close-minded, just saying. Like, you can't really criticize something if you've not played it. And your excuse can't be that you've seen the Game Grumps play it, because they definitely like to find the glitches. And just watching someone play it is not the same as actually playing it. I'll have opinions on things like Sonic games I've not played, like Lost World, and I could criticize things like the writing, but I have never once criticized the gameplay. I've heard people criticize the Lost World gameplay, but I never have, really, because I never played it. Now, when it comes to games like 06, I've played it. I've finished it 3 times. I can talk about it how I want. With Sonic Forces, as much as I love that game, I can criticize it because I played it and finished it on 2 different consoles. So, people who are literally saying they will never try something because of its reputation is foolish. So if you're someone who looks at a certain game and goes, I don't want to buy it because it looks bad, well, yeah, you don't need to buy it. But if you want to make criticisms against it, then you should buy it, just so you can have actual experience to back you up. Otherwise, you do look stupid. So overall, I think everything I said in that video has stayed the same as about how I feel now. The only things that have changed are obviously things like facts that I got wrong, like the Phantom Ruby. So that's all I really have to say about that one. I just wanted to clear a few things up that I think people might have misunderstood in that video. But yeah, that one's aged better because it's not even a year old yet. But I'm just including it because it's an older video, and it is my most viewed video, which happens to be on Mephiles as well. So, let's wrap this up. So then, how would I conclude this little video? Well, little video, it's probably going to end up being really long, but who cares? How do I conclude this video? Well, I think the one that aged the worst is the Sociopath one, because it's just a bad video. It's, like I said earlier, there are things that I don't really agree with anymore, like the things I said, and the perception of the character is different to how I perceive it now. And I just don't like the video. Really, I don't like my voice, I don't like the unprofessional, unscripted stuff. So I think that is the worst one out of the 3 we watched. And it's also the least viewed, so that explains a lot. Then the next video is obviously the Could He Return. That's not aged badly, but in comparison to the one we just watched, yeah, it did age. And I think it's mostly just the way I made the video, instead of the actual things I say in the video. And I still like that video. I do like it. It would have been so much more valid and aged a lot better if that thing in the comics about Eclipse possibly having been Mephiles or whatever was true. Like, if Mephiles was with the black arms, that would have been so cool, because I would have taken credits for inspiring the comics. And then that last one, that didn't age badly at all. I think the only thing that was really bad was when I said that Eggman took the Phantom Ruby, which he didn't do. And that's irrelevant to Mephiles, so there's no point in really talking about that much. The only thing I really wanted to do with that one was clear a few things up. There wasn't that the one where people thought I said Mephiles the dog? Like, how did people think? There were people commenting like, I have a British accent and you sounded like you said dog. It's like, there is no place in England where we say dog. Like, that's not, we don't say it like that, we say dog. Mephiles the dog. Mephiles the dark. Why did people... I did a whole video. I should have reacted to that as well, but I can't be bothered. I did a video countering that, and I recommend you all go watch it. It was an April Fool's video, and I was proud of it. You should go watch it. It's funny. It's about Mephiles actually being a dog. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe I should do more stuff like this, where I just look at things. I'm definitely going to do a comment reading one, because of the silly comments I have got on some of my videos. Because, honestly, there's no point just responding to them with comments. I think responding to them in a video is just better, because people will be able to get my tone of voice more, and I can make my points better compared to when I'm just typing. So yeah, if you like this format, then tell me, because I probably will do more, like, reacting to my other old videos, or comments, and stuff like that. And yeah, I just hope you enjoyed my content. Have a lovely November, because Mephiles month is coming to an end. I believe it's the last week now, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I am Lord Danny, signing out.